My name is Rachel Thompson. I am 34 years old, and last week I found out that my husband David had been cheating on me with my best friend Lisa. But the truly shocking thing was the secret bank accounts I discovered during the divorce proceedings. David thought I was stupid, but he was so wrong. If you've ever been betrayed so cruelly by someone you loved, please share where you live in the comments. And don't forget to like this story, because the story I'm about to tell you today will show you how to take the sweetest revenge. David and I met at Northwestern University. He was a senior in law school, and I was studying business and focusing on my small graphic design business. The first time I saw him, his confident demeanor and big plans for the future impressed me. After graduation, he started working at a prestigious law firm in Chicago, and I opened my own design studio. Our relationship developed quickly. As David advanced in his career, I expanded my client portfolio. We got married at 26, and everyone considered us the perfect couple. David was a successful lawyer, and I was a creative entrepreneur. From the outside, we had it all: a beautiful home, successful careers, and a vibrant social life. But things started to change after our third year of marriage. David's work hours grew longer, and we spent less time together at home. "I'm handling big cases, Rachel," he'd say. "Be patient, everything will get better." I believed him. After all, his career was really taking off, and our financial situation was very good. My friendship with Lisa dated back to college. She had also moved to Chicago and was working as a real estate agent. We would meet up a few times a week, go shopping, have girls' nights, and talk about life. Lisa had never married, always saying, "I haven't found the right man yet." I was always trying to set her up with someone. My first suspicions began last year. David's phone was constantly ringing, but he would often say it's work and go into another room. He would say he had to work even on weekends, but when I called, his assistant would say, "Mr. Thompson isn't in the office today." When I asked why, he would say things like, "I was in court," or "I was in a client meeting." One evening, when I came home earlier than usual, I caught David talking on the phone, but when he saw me, he hung up immediately. When I asked who was that, he said, "It's nothing, work." But the softness in his voice, the warmth, didn't sound like he was talking about work at all. I also started noticing strange things when I met Lisa. She was constantly looking at her phone, smiling and texting. When I asked her, "Who are you texting?" she would brush it off, saying, "Oh, just a new client." But the sparkle in her eyes, the excitement, it was as if she was in love. The real bombshell dropped 6 months ago. I had decided to throw a surprise party for David's birthday. I went to his office and spoke to his assistant, Jennifer. "I want to surprise David. Which days this week are he free?" I asked. Jennifer looked at me strangely. "Ma'am, Mr. Thompson hasn't been in the office at all this week. He doesn't have any court cases either." I was actually wondering where he was. At that moment, something inside me broke. David had been telling me he went to work every day. So where was he spending his 18-10 hours a day? That night, when David came home, I asked him directly, "I found out you weren't at the office this week. Where were you?" He was taken aback for a moment, but quickly composed himself. Jennifer got it mixed up. I was visiting clients, attending external meetings. "What were you doing? Were you checking up on me?" His accusatory tone made me even more suspicious. But I didn't prolong the argument that night. Instead, I decided to do some investigating. Starting the next day, I began following David. On the first day, he did go to the office, but he left around lunchtime. I followed him in my car and saw him park in front of Lisa's apartment building. My heart was beating so fast I couldn't breathe. I waited there for 2 hours. Finally, David came out, but he wasn't alone. Lisa was with him, and she was giving him a goodbye kiss. It wasn't just a friendly kiss, it was a passionate kiss, like lovers. That night, when David came home, he acted as if everything was normal. "How was your day?" he asked. "It was a tough day in court." It was a lie. Everything was a lie. The next day, I called Lisa. "Let's meet up. We have a lot to talk about." She couldn't tell anything from my voice. When we met at the cafe, Lisa was smiling as usual. Her hair was freshly cut and her makeup looked more polished than usual. She was even wearing a new perfume. Rachel, you look very tired. Is everything okay? I wanted to scream it's because of you, but I held back. Instead, I decided to set a trap for her. Lisa, I want to ask you something. Are you in love right now? You look very happy. Her face turned red. What do you mean, Rachel? Why would you think that? Because you're glowing. You're always looking at your phone, smiling secretly. Who are you talking to? She paused for a moment. Then she took a deep breath.
Oh, okay, I was going to tell you anyway. I've started seeing someone, but it's still very new, so I didn't want to tell anyone.
Who's this lucky guy? I asked, pretending I didn't know anything.
He's a lawyer, he's very handsome, successful, smart, but he's married. She almost whispered the last word.
Everything inside me shattered. So she really was with David, and she knew it. She knew she was having an affair with a married man. Lisa, I said, trying to keep my voice as calm as possible. Being with a married man isn't right. What if his wife finds out? I know, Rachel, but that's how love is. It's beyond our control. Their marriage was already over, they just haven't officially divorced yet. Those words hurt me so much that I clenched my hands under the table. That David told her that our marriage was over? Was their 12-year marriage just a piece of paper to him?
Who is this man? I asked. Maybe she would tell me his name?
I can't tell you, Rachel, it's too soon, but I hope I can introduce you to him soon. Introduce me? Was he going to introduce me to his husband? He wasn't even aware of the absurdity of the situation. When I got home that night, David was watching TV. I sat down next to him and looked at him. This was the man I had shared my life with for 12 years. We had laughed together, cried together, made plans together. How had he become such a hypocrite?
David, I said we need to talk about our marriage.
Without turning his head from the TV, he said, Why? Is there a problem?
How do you see our marriage?
This time, he looked at me. What do you mean, Rachel?
Are we happy, or are we just continuing out of habit? He shrugged. Every marriage has its ups and downs, Rachel. That's normal.
Normal? Was cheating on your wife with her best friend normal? I couldn't sleep that night. The next morning, after David left for work, I decided to check his computer. His password was our birth date. At least he hadn't changed it yet. I started looking through his emails. At first, they were only work emails, but when I looked in the sent folder, I saw messages sent from a different email account, david.thompson.private@gmail.com. There were dozens of emails sent from this account. They were all addressed to the same person, lisa.morgan.personal@gmail.com. When I started reading the emails, my stomach turned. The messages dated back months, and it wasn't just a physical relationship. They were writing love letters to each other. My love, Lisa. The hours I spent with you last night were amazing. Being in the same house with Rachel is getting really hard. I'll sort everything out soon, and we'll be together forever. David? My love, David, I'm so impatient too. When I meet Rachel, I feel guilty towards her, but our love is stronger than that. You'll be free soon. Lisa, what did you'll be free mean? Was he planning to divorce me? I kept reading the emails, and then I discovered something shocking. David wasn't just cheating on me, he'd been saving money behind my back for years. In one email, he wrote to Lisa, I transferred another $50,000 to the Cayman account this month. That brings the total to $2.5 million. Rachel has no idea. She won't find this money when we divorce. $2.5 million. A secret account in the Cayman Islands. This man had been planning to divorce me for years and trying to hide his assets. When I dug deeper, things got even worse. David had set up a company in Lisa's name. He was transferring part of his salary to that company. On paper, he was paying Lisa a consulting fee. Even the gifts he bought for Lisa were listed as company expenses. The diamond necklace he bought her was labeled as a client gift, and the vacation they took together was recorded as a business trip. This wasn't just cheating, this was an organized fraud. When David came home that day, I acted as if nothing had happened. I even started showing him more affection because I had a plan now. The next morning, I called the office of Margaret Foster, one of Chicago's best divorce lawyers. I said I wanted to make an appointment. "What is the reason for your appointment with Miss Margaret?" asked her assistant. "My husband is cheating on me and hiding his assets. There is at least $2.5 million, and I want half of it."
Margaret Foster was in her 50s, sharp witted, and famous for taking down the male lawyers at David's firm. The walls of her office were covered with newspaper clippings of cases she had won.
"Miss Rachel," she said, leaning toward me, "what you're telling me are very serious allegations. How will you prove them?" I handed her the USB drive I had brought with me. I copied all of David's emails, bank statements, and company records. The Cayman accounts, the fake company, everything's here. Margaret began reviewing the files. With each page she turned, her brows furrowed deeper. "If these documents are genuine," she finally said, "your husband didn't just cheat on you. He systematically stole your joint assets throughout your marriage. This is a very serious crime. What can we do?" "First, we'll hire a private investigator. This relationship needs to be documented with photos and videos. Then we'll hire a forensic accountant to uncover all the hidden assets. Finally, when David loses this case, he'll have to pay a huge amount of money out of his own pocket." "How much?" Margaret smiled. It was the first time I'd seen her smile. "Miss Rachel, if these documents are accurate, and I believe they are, your husband has not only betrayed you, but he has also stolen from you. Under Illinois state law, assets hidden during marriage are awarded in full to the betrayed spouse. That means you can get all of it, not just half. All of it. All $2.5 million.
Furthermore, Margaret continued, all assets acquired during the marriage are considered joint property. David's share in the law firm, his retirement accounts, the house, the cars, you are entitled to half of everything, but the penalty for the hidden money will be more severe.
For the first time in weeks, a glimmer of hope emerged within me. David would pay a huge price for thinking I was a fool. "There's one condition," Margaret said. "David must not suspect a thing. Continue your normal life. Act as if nothing has changed. We'll quietly gather all the evidence. Then we'll strike."
At home, I began to scrutinize every one of David's actions. Phone calls, late nights, weekend work excuses. I could spot every lie, but I didn't let on.
I even started acting like a better wife. I cooked his favorite meals, offered massages, and was more sensual at night. David was very pleased with the situation. He was probably thinking how easy it is to fool Rachel. One evening, he asked me, "Rachel, you seem very happy lately. What happened?" "I just realized how wonderful our life is," I said with a smile. "I'm very happy to be with you, David." He smiled and kissed me, but there was no emotion in his kiss. It was as if he was fulfilling a duty.
Meanwhile, Private Detective James Peterson had gotten to work. He was documenting David and Lisa's meetings, hotel entrances, restaurant exits, Lisa's overnight stays at his house. He was photographing everything.
Forensic accountant Catherine Woods was looking into David's finances. It didn't take long to discover that he had other hidden assets besides his Cayman accounts. He also had an account in Switzerland. The total amount of hidden money came to $3.2 million. "This man is a professional fraudster," Catherine had said. "He's been systematically hiding assets for years. He's been diverting 40% of his salary into different accounts."
3 weeks later, Margaret called me and said everything is ready. Tomorrow morning, we'll serve David with the divorce papers. We've also obtained an asset freeze order. He won't be able to move a single penny.
That night, David came home as usual. "How was your day?" he asked.
It was great, I said, genuinely smiling. Tomorrow will be even better.
The next morning, after David left for work, I called Margaret. "I'm ready," I said. "The bailiff will be at David's office in an hour. Call Lisa and arrange to meet her. She needs to know what's going on." I called Lisa and invited her out for coffee. My voice was very calm.
Sure, Rachel. What time should we meet? At 11 a.m. at our usual cafe?
At exactly 11 o'clock, she was at the cafe. She was in her usual happy, glowing mood. She was probably planning her next meeting with David.
Rachel, you look beautiful today. Is there something special going on?
Actually, there is. I said, I have some very special news.
What is it? Just then my phone rang. It was Margaret.
Rachel, the papers have been served. David is at his office reading the divorce papers. Thanks, Margaret. I hung up and looked at Lisa. Lisa, I said, I was going to tell you some very special news. I filed for divorce from my husband today. Her face turned pale. What? Why? Because I found out he was cheating on me. The coffee cup in her hand started to shake.
Rachel, are you sure? Maybe you misunderstood.
No, Lisa, I'm sure. I found out my husband was cheating on me with my best friend.
This time she had to put the cup down on the table because her hands were shaking too much. This is this is so sad, Rachel. I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry, Lisa, because my revenge will be spectacular.
Just then, my phone rang again. It was David. I answered and put it on speaker so Lisa could hear. Rachel, what the hell do you think you're doing? Lisa's eyes widened. Hello, David, I said calmly. How are you? A divorce case? Are you serious? And what is this asset freeze order? Ah, you're talking about the asset freeze order. The order freezing the secret Cayman accounts? There was silence on the other end of the phone. What? What Cayman account? David, the game is over. I know about the 3.2 million. I know about the fake company you opened in Lisa's name. I know about your emails. I know everything.
Lisa looked like she was about to faint at the cafe. Her face had turned so pale that her lips were colorless.
Rachel, this is a misunderstanding. David, I said with a smile, I'm having coffee with my best friend Lisa right now. I'm telling her everything. Do you want to say hello? I held the phone toward Lisa, but she shook her head. Rachel, you're crazy. We'll talk at home. We're not talking at home, David, because I packed your things. Your bags are at the door. You can stay at Lisa's tonight. Oh, by the way, Lisa, David told you our marriage was over, didn't he? That's a lie. He was with me last night. Lisa started crying at the cafe. David hung up the phone. Lisa was still crying in the cafe. The other customers at the table were looking at us, trying to figure out what was going on. I, on the other hand, had never felt so calm in my life. Rachel, Lisa said, sobbing, I didn't know that you. What didn't you know, Lisa? I asked coldly. Didn't you know I was married? Didn't you know you were cheating on my best friend of 12 years? He told me your marriage was over, that you were only married on paper, that you were actually living apart.
And you believed that. Lisa, you saw me 3 times a week. We ate dinner at our house. We organized David's birthday party together last month. Which part of that looked like you were living apart?
Lisa couldn't answer because the answer was obvious. She hadn't seen it because she didn't want to.
How long has this been going on? I asked.
8 months, she whispered. 8 months. For 8 months, my best friend and husband had been cheating on me. For 8 months, they had been lying to my face. What about the secret money? Did you know anything about the Cayman accounts? Lisa lifted her head, her eyes swollen. What secret money? I showed her the report Catherine Woods had prepared on my phone, the $3.2 million David had hidden, the fake company, the Swiss accounts. It was all there. Oh my God, Lisa said. I didn't know any of this, Rachel. I swear I didn't.
But there's a company registered in your name, Lisa. Didn't you know about that?
What company? I showed her the report, which listed a company called Morgan Consulting LLC, registered in Lisa's name. This company was receiving a monthly consulting fee of $10,000 from David.
Lisa's face turned even paler. I didn't open such a company, Rachel.
But your signature is here. Lisa examined the signature. This is my signature, but I don't remember signing anything like this.
Then I understood. David hadn't told Lisa what the documents she had signed were. He had probably told her they were necessary documents for the real estate business and had her sign them. Lisa, I said, you've been scammed too. David used you to cheat on me and hide his money? This made Lisa feel even worse. What am I going to do now, Rachel? The company is in my name. Am I going to be considered guilty too? I don't know, Lisa, but I don't care right now. For now, I'm only concerned with David.
After leaving the cafe, I went straight to Margaret's office. David had called several times, but I didn't answer.
How did it go? Margaret asked.
Perfect. David is panicking. Lisa knows everything. Good. Now the real battle begins, Rachel. David will probably try to hire the best lawyers in Illinois. We need to be prepared. Margaret was right. That evening, I learned that three senior lawyers from the prestigious firm where David worked wanted to contact us. Of course, I refused. When I got home that night, David's belongings were indeed packed and ready in bags by the door. It didn't take long for him to ring the doorbell.
Rachel, open the door. We need to talk.
I didn't open the door. Instead, I spoke through the intercom.
We have nothing to talk about, David. Your things are ready. Take them and go.
Rachel, this is crazy. You can't end our 12-year marriage like this. You ended it. David, I'm just making it official. The Lisa thing, it was just a complicated situation. I'll take care of her. We can start over.
I laughed. I actually laughed.
David, it's not just Lisa. There's also the fact that you stole $3.2 million.
There was a long silence.
Rachel, that money, that's a completely different matter.
Yes, the fraud issue. I'm thinking of talking to the FBI.
What? Rachel, are you crazy? I didn't do anything illegal. Hiding money in offshore accounts, setting up fake companies, tax evasion, aren't those illegal? David started crying at the door. Yes, he was crying. The man I had been with for 12 years was crying at my door. Rachel, please. I made mistakes, but I can fix them. I'll get the money back. I'll leave Lisa. Just give me one more chance. No, David. You've had your chance for 8 months. Now it's my turn. The next morning, Margaret called. Rachel, David's lawyer wants to meet. They want to discuss the possibility of a settlement. What are they saying? David is willing to return all the hidden money. He also says he won't touch the house or the cars. In exchange, he wants us not to bring up the affair.
So he doesn't want a scandal?
Exactly. David's lawyer says that having this case go public would be harmful to both sides. I thought about it. David's career was really over. The cheating scandal would be the talk of Chicago's legal circles, but I no longer felt any pity for him. No, Margaret. We're going to continue with the case. Everyone needs to know what David did.
Are you sure? You could get a lot more money this way. I'm sure. Money isn't my only goal. Everyone needs to know what a despicable person David is.
That week, the details of the case were leaked to the Chicago Tribune. It made the front page with the headline Famous Lawyer's Secret Millions and Cheating Scandal. David's photo, Lisa's photo, a photo of our house, everything was in the paper. Because I had talked to the reporters, I told everyone how David had cheated me, how he had hidden the money. The phone didn't stop ringing the morning the paper came out. David's former clients were calling, wanting to know what was going on. My friends were sending messages of support. Even women I didn't know were calling to say, "You're our hero."
David called me and went crazy. How could you do this, Rachel? My career is over.
Good, I said. Just like your career, our marriage was over. Now everything is out in the open. I'm suing you. You're slandering me.
David, which part is slander? The Cayman accounts? Your relationship with Lisa? Or the email you sent me saying it's so easy to fool Rachel?
David hung up. The news article was read not only by David's clients, but also by the law firm he worked for. In the afternoon, David's partner, Robert Chen, called me.
Miss Thompson, I'm very sorry. The firm had no knowledge of David's actions.
I know, Mr. Chen. Our firm does not tolerate such behavior. We have terminated our relationship with David. I understand.
Additionally, if your firm is interested in working with us, we are in need of graphic design services. David's former company was offering me a job. This ironic situation made me laugh.
I'll consider the offer, Mr. Chan. Lisa was experiencing a similar fate. Reputation was very important in the real estate industry, and clients didn't want to trust someone who was having an affair with a married man. Several of her major clients canceled their contracts.
3 days later, Lisa called me and asked to meet. Her voice sounded very tired.
Rachel, can we talk? We have a lot to discuss. Sure, Lisa, but this time you come to my office. When Lisa arrived at my office, I was surprised to see her. Only 3 days had passed, but it felt like months. She had dark circles under her eyes, and her hair was disheveled. Rachel, she said as soon as she sat down, my life is ruined.
What do you mean? Half of my clients have left me. My boss at the real estate office fired me. Even the apartment management is looking at me strangely.
I'm sorry, Lisa, but all of this is the result of your choices.
I know, she started crying. I know, and I'm so sorry, Rachel, but David manipulated me so much.
How did he manipulate you?
Lisa took a deep breath. When I first met him, he was so charming. He was always complaining about you. Rachel doesn't understand me. We're incompatible. Our marriage is just on paper, he'd say. And you believed him.
I wanted to believe him, Rachel, because because I was in love with David. He was always complimenting me. You're so much more understanding than Rachel. You're so much more beautiful, he would say. So why didn't you tell me the truth when I asked you about marriage? Because David told me, Rachel is suspicious, but we're not ready yet. Let's wait a little longer, then we'll explain everything, he said. What Lisa was telling me showed how systematic David was. He hadn't just trapped me, he trapped Lisa step by step too.
What about the fake company?
That's even more complicated, Rachel. David told me let's set up a company so you look more professional in the real estate business. He had me sign a bunch of documents. I trusted him, so I signed everything. Didn't you ever suspect anything? I asked him once, David, what exactly is this company for? He said, there are tax advantages, you'll pay less tax. I thought that was normal. David had really planned everything out. He had made Lisa his partner in both the deception and the tax evasion. Lisa, I said, what are you planning to do now?
I don't know, Rachel. My lawyer said the FBI wants to talk to me. I could be considered an accomplice because of that fake company.
If you tell the truth, there won't be a problem.
But I'll have to testify against David. And are you ready to do that?
Lisa was silent for a long time. Then she looked at me. Yes, David didn't just use you. He used me too. There has to be a price to pay. Meanwhile, the court process had begun. Margaret prepared me in detail before the first hearing. Rachel, David's lawyer, James Mitchell, is very experienced. He'll target you, claiming you have ulterior motives. What kind of ulterior motives? For example, the financial state of your business, your relationships with other men. He'll try everything.
But none of that is true.
It doesn't matter, he'll try to confuse the jury. The first hearing was to take place in one of Chicago's largest courtrooms. Media interest was very high. Dozens of journalists were waiting outside the courtroom.
When I saw David in court, I noticed he had changed a lot. He had lost weight, his eyes were sunken, and his former confidence was gone.
Judge Michael Crawford was a very serious man. He had been handling divorce cases for 30 years and had little patience. David's lawyer, James Mitchell, was indeed pursuing an aggressive strategy. Your Honor, he said, my client categorically denies Rachel Thompson's allegations. These so called hidden assets are illegal investments and were known to his wife. Margaret stood up. Your Honor, we have emails that Mr. Thompson wrote to his girlfriend, Lisa Morgan. These emails clearly state that Rachel knows nothing about this. James Mitchell was cornered. These emails.
Are you saying they're fake? Margaret asked. Because the FBI's computer experts confirmed that these emails are genuine. Yes, the FBI was involved. Because what David had done wasn't just fraud. Tax evasion was a federal crime.
James Mitchell tried a different tactic. Your Honor, my client made these investments to secure his family's future. Which family? Margaret asked. The family he cheated on his wife with.
This question really bothered David. He whispered to his lawyer.
Your Honor, said James Mitchell, my client's private life has no bearing on this case. Judge Crawford furrowed his brow. Mr. Mitchell, the credibility of someone who cheated on his wife and hid his assets certainly has an impact on this case.
At the first hearing, Margaret gave a very compelling performance. She read David's emails one by one, showed the documents of the Cayman accounts, and explained how the fake company was set up.
Your Honor, Margaret said, David Thompson systematically cheated on his wife and stole her assets. This is not just marital infidelity, it is organized fraud. After reviewing the files, Judge Crawford issued a preliminary ruling. All hidden assets will be immediately seized and transferred to Rachel Thompson.
David lost his composure in court at that moment. This isn't fair. That money is mine.
The judge looked at him sternly. Mr. Thompson, that money was earned during your marriage, and you kept it hidden from your wife. Such behavior is severely punished in this state. Your Honor, James Mitchell interjected, my client is going through an emotional period. Mr. Mitchell, your client has been disrespectful in my courtroom. If he repeats this behavior, I will have him removed from the courtroom. We had won the first hearing. David's $3.2 million was now mine. But David wasn't giving up. As we left the courthouse, journalists swarmed around us. Mrs. Thompson, how do you feel about the decision? I'm pleased that justice has been served, I said. Mr. Thompson, will you be appealing the decision?
David said nothing, but his lawyer spoke up. Of course we will appeal.
David came to the second hearing much better prepared. His lawyer was pursuing a new strategy. Your Honor, said James Mitchell, my client did not hide this money from his wife, but to protect her. As Rachel Thompson knows, she had financial problems in her own business. This lie made me angry. My design studio was very profitable.
Margaret responded immediately. Your Honor, Miss Thompson's business has been profitable for the last 3 years. The tax records show that.
Margaret was right. My studio had made $108,000 in profit last year. Perhaps, said James Mitchell, but Mr. Thompson was anticipating future risks. What risks? Margaret asked. Mrs. Thompson's business is growing. Her client portfolio is expanding. James Mitchell tried another approach. Your Honor, throughout the marriage, Mr. Thompson covered all the household expenses. The money Mrs. Thompson earned went solely toward her personal expenses. That was also a lie. I was covering half of the household expenses. Margaret showed the documents. Your Honor, Mrs. Thompson's bank records clearly show that she paid 45% of the household expenses.
The judge rejected this defense as well. Future risks are not a valid excuse for opening offshore accounts. Furthermore, who paid the household expenses does not justify the crime of concealing assets.
We won the second trial as well. This time, the judge imposed an additional penalty. David would have to pay me $500,000 in compensation.
David's situation was deteriorating day by day. Due to the news reports in the newspapers, his clients were leaving him one by one. The prestigious law firm had fired him. He was now working alone in a small office. Lisa was also experiencing similar difficulties. Her reputation in the real estate industry had been damaged, but at least she had a chance to avoid punishment by cooperating with the FBI.
At the third hearing, David's lawyer tried to play his last card.
Your Honor, said James Mitchell, my client admits that his relationship with Lisa Morgan was wrong, but this relationship was born out of mutual love and was not malicious.
Margaret refuted this claim as well. Your Honor, the emails we have show that Mr. Thompson wrote to his girlfriend, "It's easy to deceive Rachel. Isn't that malicious intent?" David tried to deny writing the email, but the FBI's computer reports proved otherwise. Furthermore, Margaret said, Mr. Thompson wrote to his girlfriend, "I'll be free soon." This indicates that he was planning to divorce his wife. James Mitchell made one last move. Your Honor, the marriage was already on the rocks. My client merely expedited the inevitable. If the marriage was on the rocks, Margaret said, why hide assets? Why lie to his wife? James Mitchell had no answer to that question. Judge Crawford delivered his final ruling. David Thompson will transfer 75% of all assets acquired during the marriage to Rachel Thompson. He will also pay $750,000 in compensatory damages. 75%. In a typical divorce, 50% would have been awarded, but the penalty was increased due to David's infidelity and fraud. In total, I had the following:
$3.2 million in hidden assets,
75% of our home, approximately 600,000. 75% of David's retirement accounts, $350,000. 75% of the cars, $750,000 in compensation, total approximately $5 million. As David walked out of the courtroom, he looked at me with a pale face. I hope you're happy, Rachel. I'm very happy, David. You'll be happy too. You don't have enough money to live with Lisa, but love conquers all, doesn't it?
At that moment, Lisa was also in the courtroom. When David approached her, Lisa stepped back.
David, I need to talk to you, Lisa said. What are we going to talk about, my love? After this trial? This isn't about the trial, David. You've deceived me too.
David was stunned. What do you mean?
That fake company. You told me it was necessary for my real estate business, but without my knowledge, I became an accomplice in tax evasion. Lisa, this. And you told me our marriage was over, but you were with Rachel last week. David couldn't respond.
David, Lisa said, this is over between us. You didn't just deceive Rachel, you deceived me too. I'm going to tell the FBI everything.
Lisa left David there and walked away. David was left alone. As I left the courtroom, reporters were waiting for me. Miss Thompson, what are your thoughts on the compensation you received from David Thompson? Justice has been served, I said. The price of betrayal must be heavy. Do you have any regrets about the matter? My only regret is that I didn't see David's true color sooner. What are your future plans? I'm going to expand my design studio. Maybe I'll start a foundation to help women who have been betrayed. How can this case serve as an example for other women? No woman should have to accept being cheated on and exploited. We can stand up for our rights. When I got home, I felt truly relaxed for the first time in months. David's things were gone. His scent was gone, and I had redecorated the house. I called Margaret to thank her. Rachel winning this case was very important to me too. Cases like this are rare in Chicago. You are very brave. I had no other choice, Margaret. David thought I was stupid, but I wasn't stupid at all.
Now there's an FBI investigation. David is likely to face charges for tax evasion.
How much time could he get?
5 to 7 years in prison. If Lisa testifies, David has no chance of escaping.
That evening, I opened a bottle of champagne for the first time alone. I was going to celebrate the new beginning of my life. The next morning, I received an unexpected call from Lisa. Rachel, can we talk? About what, Lisa?
About everything. I owe you an apology.
I wanted to give her a chance. Maybe she was truly sorry. All right, let's meet. This time, we didn't meet at our old cafe, but at a park in the city center. Lisa had changed a lot. She had lost weight, and there were dark circles under her eyes. Rachel, she said, there's no excuse for what I did. I cheated on you. I betrayed our friendship. But please know this, it took me time to realize how much David was manipulating you.
What do you mean? He kept telling me you were complaining about him, that your marriage was over, that you were just waiting for the divorce proceedings to be finalized. I believed him because I wanted to believe him.
What about when I told you being with a married man is wrong? At that point, I was talking to David. He said, Rachel already knows, but she doesn't want to make it public, and Lisa fell silent and began to cry.
I was so stupid, Rachel. I threw away 12 years of friendship for a man, and that man deceived me too.
I was still very angry with Lisa, but I was beginning to understand that she had been manipulated by David. Lisa, didn't you ever question David's character? The fake company, The secret money? I didn't know any of that, Rachel. I swear, I thought we started that company to make our real estate business look more professional. Didn't David ever seem strange to you? The constant lying, the secret conversations. Lisa paused. Actually, some things did seem strange. For example, he would always tell me, Rachel is a paranoid woman. She's always questioning me. But you weren't like that. Why didn't you question him then?
Because I was in love with Rachel, and David was very persuasive. He'd say, Lisa, you're so smart, Rachel is jealous of you. That flattered my ego. Did I believe him? Not entirely. But it was clear that Lisa was also a victim of David.
Lisa, I said, it's going to be very hard to rebuild our friendship. Maybe even impossible.
I know, but at least I want your forgiveness, and I want to help expose everything David has done.
What do you mean? The FBI questioned me about that fake company. I told them everything David told me. If they're going to press charges against David, I'm willing to testify. This surprised me. Lisa was willing to testify against David. Why are you doing this?
Because David didn't just use you, he used me too. And there has to be a price to pay.
If you testify, you could get into trouble too. My lawyer made a deal with the FBI. If I cooperate fully, they'll just give me a warning. Lisa's decision affected me. At least she was trying to take responsibility for her mistakes. A week later, the FBI arrested David. The list of charges was long: tax evasion, money laundering, marriage fraud, falsification of documents. The Chicago Tribune ran the story on the front page. Deception scandal turns into FBI investigation. David's photo was in the newspaper this time. Handcuffed, the image was striking. A prestigious lawyer being led away in handcuffs. Lisa became the FBI's key witness. She recounted in detail how David had lied to her and tricked her into signing the documents. Mr. Thompson kept telling me, these documents are for your real estate business, Lisa said in her statement to the FBI. I trusted him and signed them. Later, I found out they were being used to evade taxes.
David's lawyers tried a different defense strategy this time. In federal court, they claimed that David had suffered an emotional breakdown and was unable to think rationally.
But this defense didn't hold up either. It was clear that David had acted systematically. Emails, documents, account transactions, everything pointed to a well planned scheme. Federal prosecutor Mary Rodriguez made a harsh accusation. David Thompson systematically evaded taxes for years, deceived his wife and girlfriend, and forged documents. This is the activity of an organized crime syndicate. This time, David really took the final blow. He was sentenced to 5 years in federal court. Journalists were waiting for me outside the prison. Mrs. Thompson, what did you feel when you learned that your ex husband had been sentenced to prison? Justice has been served, I said. What David did wasn't just against me, it was a betrayal of the system. What do you feel about him now? I feel no pity. He chose his own fate. What did this process teach you? No woman should have to accept being cheated on and exploited. We have strong laws on our side. We just need to use them. A whole new chapter of my life was beginning. With the money I got from David, I expanded my design studio. I now have a team of 15 people. I also founded a foundation called Second Chance Women. This foundation provided legal assistance to women who have been cheated on and financially exploited. I gave a speech at the foundation's opening ceremony. No woman is helpless in the face of a man who cheats on her and exploits her. Every woman has the right to defend herself. I exercised that right. There were many women at the ceremony. They had all experienced similar stories. They had been cheated on, exploited, but they were no longer alone.
The first woman to apply to the foundation was Sandra Williams. She was 42 years old and the mother of 2 children. Her husband had been having an affair with his secretary for 15 years and had drained their retirement fund.
Miss Thompson, Sandra said, I read your story in the newspaper. Can you help me too? Of course, Sandra. What exactly happened? Sandra's story was very similar to mine. Her husband Robert had been having an affair with his secretary for 3 years. When Sandra suspected him, Robert told her she was paranoid.
The worst part, Sandra said, is that he emptied our retirement accounts. There was $300,000 and now there's nothing left. I recommended one of the best divorce lawyers to Sandra. Our foundation also covered her expenses.
The second request came from Jessica Martinez. She was 28 years old and newly married. She had been married to her husband Alex for only 2 years, but Alex was cheating on her and stealing money from her bank account. Miss Thompson, my husband has racked up credit card debt. I owe $50,000, but I never used any of it.
We helped Jessica too. Our lawyer proved that Alex had taken out loans using fake documents. The foundation helped over 200 women in 6 months. Each had a different story but shared similar pain.
Lisa was also at the ceremony. We were talking now. Our friendship wouldn't be the same, but I decided to give her a second chance. Rachel, she said, you saved my life by showing me David's true face.
What do you mean?
Now I realize he was exploiting me too. I was giving him part of my earnings from my real estate business. He called it investment. Turns out he was gambling. David was indeed a gambling addict. It came to light during the FBI investigation. He had lost some of the money he had hidden in Las Vegas.
Also, Lisa said he was always comparing me to you. Rachel is so boring, you're so much more fun, he'd say. That was pushing me away from you.
David had been very systematic. He had pushed me away from Lisa and Lisa away from me. A year later, David sent a letter from prison. Rachel,
I know you may not read this letter, but I had to write it. I've had a lot of time to think in prison. Everything I did was wrong. Cheating on you, hiding the money, using Lisa, it was all wrong.
you got what you deserved. I got what I deserved.
I'm not asking for your forgiveness because I didn't do anything that can be forgiven. I just want you to know you are a strong woman and I never understood your worth.
I hope you are happy. David,
I read the letter but didn't respond. David was now part of my past. 2 years later, my design studio had become one of the largest companies in Chicago. I had 50 employees and was planning to open a branch in New York. My foundation had also grown. We had helped hundreds of women. I had even written a book, After Betrayal, a guide for strong women.
during the book launch, I said the following.
Betrayal hurts, but don't let it destroy you. Betrayal is also an opportunity to discover how strong you are.
There were hundreds of women in the room. They were all proud of me. I was proud of myself. Meanwhile, something very special happened. I started dating Dr. Michael Stevens, whom Margaret Foster introduced me to. Michael was a child psychologist and the complete opposite of David, honest, reliable, understanding. Rachel, Michael said on our first date, I heard your story. It's very impressive.
Which part? The fact that you didn't give up in the face of what happened to you, that you came out even stronger.
My relationship with Michael was developing in a very calm and healthy way. It was the complete opposite of the chaotic situation I had been in with David.
3 years later, when I saw David for the last time, he had just been released from prison. We ran into each other at a cafe. He had changed a lot. He looked older and troubled.
Rachel, he said, I'm glad to see you. Hello, David. I heard about your success. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm working at a small law firm now. It's a modest life, but that's good, I said. Everyone deserves a second chance. Do we have a chance to start over? That question made me laugh. David, you really don't understand, do you? I understand, but no, you don't. I'm much stronger now than I used to be. You're still the same David. You just ran out of luck. Rachel, David, the greatest gift you ever gave me was cheating on me, because that's how I discovered my true strength. That's not fair, Rachel. I've changed. You've changed. You're talking to me about starting over right now. That shows you're still trying to control me. David couldn't respond. David, I don't need your approval anymore. Not for your love or your hate. I left David there and walked away. I wasn't angry with him anymore because I didn't feel anything for him anymore. Today, I am 40 years old. I own my company. I am the founder of my foundation, and I am a strong woman. Michael and I are engaged, and we are getting married next summer. David thought I was stupid, but I showed him how wrong he was. Last week, a woman who applied to our foundation told me, Miss Thompson, you are my hero. Your story gave me hope. That's why it was all worth it. I didn't just take my revenge, I inspired hundreds of women. If you've ever been in a similar situation, remember the sweetest revenge is success, and success is always an option.
No one can leave you feeling belittled, only you can choose to feel small. I chose to be big.